Hello everyone, welcome to Just Invest Today. In today's video, we're talking about this new Mohnish Pabrai interview with Harvard. Man, Mohnish has been giving us so much heat, so much new content to talk about. I'm loving it. Man, this new interview was kind of so. It was really weird. The interviewer was kind of weird. She doesn't really know too much about investing, I think. I don't know. Tell me what you think about this interview. But Mohnish Pabrai actually talks about actually selling all of his position in Seritage Growth Properties, which is pretty crazy because honestly, Spier is on the other side of this investment, right? And this is his best friend. So we're going to really get into it. Let's listen, or I'm going to talk about his reasoning for actually selling all of Seritage Growth Properties because it's very interesting and he had a different assumption of what was going to happen. So let's look at Seritage and what happened to Seritage. So we found out that Mohnish Pabrai was actually selling Seritage, reducing his stake. Q4 2021, he reduced it by 25%. So it was 21% of his portfolio, but he does have other holdings in international, so it was lower. I think he might have sold actually a little bit before Q4 2021. I'm not too sure, but still, he sold a huge percent of his position, man, during the last Q4 quarter. And in this interview, he said that he sold out of everything. So now he's able to talk about why he sold Seritage Growth Properties and why he made a mistake buying into it. Before we get into Seritage, we have to understand what the company is and what it does. Seritage Growth Property is a publicly traded self-administrative and self-managed REIT with 166 wholly owned properties and 29 unconsolidated properties totaling approximately 30.4 million square feet of space across 44 states in Puerto Rico. The company was formed to unlock the underlying real estate value of high-quality retail portfolio it acquired from Sears Holdings in 2015. The company's mission is to create and own revitalized shopping, dining, entertainment, mixed-use destinations that provide an enriched experience for consumers and local communities and create long-term value for our shareholders. So you have to keep this in mind when you think about him making a mistake, Mohnish Pabrai making a mistake on his thesis, because he talks about this. This is a very key point. Mohnish Pabrai bought Seritage Growth Properties around March during the pandemic. I think the second quarter of the pandemic, close to March, around $6 to $9. So this is when it took a huge drop from $39. Huge drop, 79%. So he was buying around that $6 to $9 price range. And he saw this as a very cheap asset. And remember, the thesis going against Seritage and why it dropped so much because the pandemic and the retail footprint was getting closed, all the properties getting closed, and people were worried about what would happen in the future. So that's why it took this huge drop. And he thought this was actually a cheap investment opportunity with a huge amount of upside because they're going to redevelop a lot of these properties. Mohnish Pabrai realized the one mistake he made when buying into Seritage was that he didn't really analyze how much this redevelopment would take because Seritage Growth Properties has a lot of different places and locations, so there's a lot of nuances and there's a lot of rules and regulations on how to redevelop the properties and how to kind of get into it, the zoning, the different criteria. There's a lot of moving parts to redevelop these areas. Even though they own a lot of this amazing land, there's going to be a lot of moving parts to actually analyze how they can actually redevelop the area. So that was one mistake because he doesn't know how long this would take or the amount of work that it will take to actually make all these redevelopments work. So that was the one mistake he made. And when you think about it, Spier is kind of doing the opposite. He's seeing this in a different light. He is able to see the value of these properties. When he looks at the value of the Texas location, he's seeing that there's a lot of land, a lot of redevelopment, be worth a lot more money than the $11 or the $6 to $9 that he bought it at. So he's able to kind of look ahead and see that there's so much kind of land and there's so much value here that it's just, you can't replace it, right? So he's just saying, no, like this is worth a lot more than what it's selling for today if you look 5 to 10 years. And Spier is willing to wait that because he's kind of wired that way. He's always willing to wait longer than Mohnish Pabrai when it comes to these things. But you can say that Mohnish might be right, saying that the redevelopment might not even take 2 to 3 or 4 years, how they're kind of planning it out to be. What if it takes longer than that? What if it's like a huge project that kind of can't be done? I think the advantage of that is that, so that is a very possible situation and scenario. But on the Guy Spier side, is just like they would be able to sell to kind of some companies, some REIT, someone out there that would probably buy it for $30, if that, to kind of just get that off the books. I can kind of see it that way too, in the Guy Spier way. But Mohnish sees it as that he had a huge opportunity cost loss by buying into SRG. He could have bought a lot more different companies or different businesses that probably could have returned more money, because he already made like 20 to 40% on this, even though he sold Seritage Growth Properties. So this is a very interesting play. I don't know which direction I'm choosing, because I was interested in this company, or I looked into it when when Mohnish Pabrai was buying, or Warren Buffett actually owned some of the debt, so it wasn't gonna go bankrupt in my mind, because come on, Warren Buffett still wants his money at the end of the day. So it's selling at $11 today. It actually went from like $7 all the way up to what, $23. This is an interesting play. Like, I can kind of see it trading to $30 if someone buys out SRG. Like, in my mind, like, that's very feasible. So any of you guys own SRG? Are you worried about that? Do you agree with kind of Mohnish Pabrai's kind of thesis on why he sold? What are your thoughts on SRG? Do you own it? Are you buying it? Did you sell? What are your thoughts, guys? Can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel, man?